Hi guys. If you are watching this video, it's probably because you heard me saying I was going to do a series about diamond painting on my last FlossTube video. Or you just happened to stumble across it in the wilds of YouTube and you found me. Hi, I'm Little Snips, otherwise known as Sarah. I am a crafter who lives in Northern California and who just recently came across diamond painting and fell head over heels in love for the craft, and who has decided to spread the love and tell other people about it and try to enable you to join me in a new crafting adventure. There are a few of us who are cross-stitchers or were cross-stitchers primarily and who have discovered this craft and are sort of taking it to a hybrid level, doing cross-stitch patterns as diamond painting patterns, but that's getting ahead of myself. Let me explain a little bit about what diamond painting is. Diamond painting does not actually refer to putting diamonds on a canvas. Well, let me take that back. The people who manufacture the plastic tiles, the resin tiles, call them diamonds because the tiles themselves have been faceted so that they have a diamond-like sparkle. When you move a light source over them or change the angle at which you look at them, they do sparkle, sort of like diamonds would. So they do call them diamonds. But what they are really tiny little plastic resin tiles shaped like squares or circles. And those tiles are used to make pictures. You put them onto a grid that has a tacky substance over it, and you make pictures with them. Sort of like cross-stitching, but in 3D. So let me explain a little bit about what's on the desk right now. This is obviously it's just a plastic container. It's a bead container that you can buy from Michael's or Joann's or any craft store probably. This one happens to be octagonal, but you can get square boxes. You can get little containers that are like Tic Tac boxes to hold your beads in. And these come in very handy because they're sectioned and you can keep the beads separate without having to have a huge collection of containers. How you choose to keep your beads is entirely up to you. There is no rule, there is no right or wrong. This is just my choice. Now the beads themselves, and it's going to be kind of difficult to show you what they look like, but if you can see in there, these particular beads are tiny circles. If you notice also, if you're familiar with cross-stitch and embroidery floss, you will see that I have stickers on the tops of the lids on the container, and the numbers on there are DMC numbers. One of the selling points of the resin tiles is that there are 447 colors, and luckily for the cross-stitchers of the world, the 447 colors are matched to DMC floss colors. So if you're familiar with DMC embroidery floss, you will be familiar with the colors. You can compare them, and they're about as close as you can get to the difference between cotton embroidery floss and plastic resin shapes. But they do match the colors, which is one of the reasons why you can use this technique to make patterns, or you can use cross-stitch patterns, rather, to make pictures out of resin tiles. So these are the tiles. I do have another set of tiles, excuse my awkward reach. I do have another set of tiles, also in the same containers, also with DMC numbers, but if I open these, you probably won't be able to tell because the camera doesn't focus that great, but these are squares. So the tiles come in either circle or square shape. And honestly, people have preferences. Just like people have preferences on whether you knit continental or what's the other term? I just forgot the term. Anyway, people have preferences on the way that you knit. People have preferences on the way that you cook food. People have preferences on whether you use circular or square tiles. I personally don't really have a preference. I just recently got a square tile set and I'm learning how to use them. I have done most of my work so far with circular tiles, so I don't have a bias against them, but some people do. Your mileage may vary. You may like the circles, you may like the squares better. It just depends on your tastes. This that looks like a piece of battered chewing gum in cellophane is actually glue. Now, some people call it wax, some people call it glue. It's something akin to nail glue, the stuff that you use to put designs on fingernails. It is a tacky substance, and it is what you use to pick up beads when you're about to put them on the sticky canvas. You usually, if you buy a kit, you will usually get a piece of this stuff. It may not be pink like mine is. It may be yellow or green or blue or a paler pink. Whatever the color is, this is what you use to pick up beads and stick them to the canvas. You will probably get a tray. Now, I don't have a different tray to show you. Mine have all been the green ridged type, like this one. Some of them are square with a flat top across the front. Some of them are like this one that have the opening so you can tip beads back into the container. But they all have these ridges. Ugh, lighting is bad, and we're having a power outage, so I can't fix this really. But they have ridges so that you can get the beads to line up and be the right side up, so that you can pick them up to put them on your canvas. Now, right side up. The beads have a rounded top, a faceted top, which is what causes the sparkle I was talking about before, and they have a flat bottom so that they will stick to the canvas. When you want to pick them up, you want the rounded side up so you can stick the flat part to the canvas. Makes sense, right? This is one version, probably the most common version of the tool that you use to apply the beads to, or the tiles to the canvas. It kind of looks like a straw to me, like a plastic pink straw. It has this metal tip, and you can see by looking at that the tip is circular. This is what goes into the wax. To pick up a piece of wax, this is what you pick the beads up with and put them on the canvas. There are different pens. There is apparently, or was, and I wish we could find it because I would like it, but there is apparently a square version of this pen. There are things that look like white colored pencils. They are tacky. They can be used to pick up the beads as well. The other tool that you will see are tweezers. Some people prefer to use tweezers, particularly with the square beads, because they have edges and angles that you can use, and that's better. You can see it over the tray. I am not a fan of the tweezers, but a lot of people do like them. And there are many types of tweezers. This one happens to be very pointy, as you can see, and pretty straight. This one is less pointy, and it has this fun angle so that you can pick beads up from the side and then transfer them to your canvas. But these are the basic tools that you're going to see in a diamond painting set. Let me move those out of the way and get on to the heart of the matter, the actual diamond paintings themselves. So this is what a diamond painting canvas looks like. This is one example, and this happens to be what is referred to as a partial, meaning that the edges of the picture do not have a grid on them. They are just canvas. They are not, no, you can't see that, sorry. They are canvas, they are not sticky. There is nothing to stick on this portion of the canvas. You see the plastic, however. The plastic, and excuse me while I peel this back and make a lot of noise. The plastic is there to protect the sticky parts of the canvas. So this part, if you see it sticks to my finger, you can hear it maybe sticking. This part is covered with the glue that I was talking about. And this is the part where you put the diamonds on the canvas. You can see, maybe, that I've put a few here. Just a few, just to try it out. And these are circular diamonds as well. Now this is a partial, again, it is only partially glued. Part of the picture will be filled in with beads and become 3D, and the rest will stay as a background. Again, the plastic is to protect it. Once you're finished with the painting, you take the plastic off entirely and discard it, and you can then decide whether you want to frame your diamond painting or mount it on a canvas or whatever you want to do with it. But while you're working on it, and when it's shipped, it is shipped with a protective covering. I didn't show you. Sorry, I should show you. Can you see that the shapes in, like, particularly up here in the moon, there are symbols in the grid itself? So it works just like a cross-stitch pattern. There is a color key on the side here, and you take the corresponding color, stick it on the canvas, and then you're finished. The tiles are usually very securely attached. If they are not, you can lay a heavy book or something heavy on top of the canvas to make sure that the tiles stick into the glue, and they should stay. People who have been doing this longer than the Americans have say that the tiles really don't fall off unless something drastic happens, so you should be fine. So again, that is a partial patterned diamond painting canvas. Now, you can also get canvases that are what is called full drill. Some people refer to the tiles as drills, and excuse me for making noise again. They refer to the tiles as drills, and so you have a partial drill, which is the one I just showed you, and then you have a full drill, which is this one. Again, this is only partially completed. I am working on this one at the moment, and it's going to be difficult to see the picture, but it is a wolf mandala. I've actually showed pictures of this in my FlossTube videos. There's a picture of this on my Instagram, both of which I will link in the comments below, down there. And I could probably insert a picture, maybe I'll insert a picture of what the finished product is supposed to look like here. Now, mind you, this is a pixelated version of what the finished product is. Also, when it comes to diamond painting, the larger the canvas, the better the detail. This one happens to be a 35 centimeter by 35 centimeter canvas. So I believe that that's about 14 inches to a side. That is not the largest version of this you can get. This one I happened to get off of Amazon, and it was the only size that was offered. But I have seen this pattern offered on other sites, and you can get it at a larger size. So the bigger the picture, or the bigger the canvas, the better the detail, the less pixelated the final image will be. This one is done with round tiles as well. And you can see one of the reasons that people don't like the round tiles so much. If you can see that there are no corners to meet. So there are slight gaps in the pattern when you put the beads on, or when you put the tiles on the canvas. Now, fortunately, most of the companies that print the image on the canvas for you do so in color, so that some of the color from the pattern comes through the canvas and makes up for the fact that there are gaps between the circular tiles. But some people don't like that. I don't mind it. This is the first sort of tile that I worked on, so it doesn't bother me. But some people don't like it. I tend to work diagonally. As you can see, we have the stair-step effect going across the pattern. There is no right or wrong way to do this either. You don't have to work diagonally. You don't have to work row by row or column by column. You can do it however you like. You could take the protective covering off of the entire canvas and do all of one color for the entire canvas. Do a cross-country sort of thing, if you're familiar with that stitching term, and then go on to the next color. My only caution with that would be make sure that you replace the protective cover when you're finished, because again, that's to keep dirt and other things from sticking to the sticky canvas, and you don't want to remove any of the tackiness on the grid, because then the beads may not stay for as long or stay as securely. So again, this is a full drill circular piece that I've been working on for a while. I have also another full drill circular piece. It's a different shape. So this one, you will notice, is longer than it is wide. Again, it has a plastic canvas, and if you notice the top of my canvases, the ones I've shown you, they all say the same thing, this BL, and then of course I cover it so it's glare. But they all have they come from the same company. These all came off of Amazon, and I'm making a lot of noise again, I apologize. They all came with limited size choices. But this one is a Alice in Wonderland inspired, I believe. You can see that I'm working, well, if I can move it far enough, there we go. You can see that again, I'm working in a diagonal. So we're working here, up the side. This one is obviously lighter colors. But again, you can see a little bit of why people might have problems with the circular tiles, because you can see the gaps between the tiles. When the picture is completely finished, the gaps between the tiles will be less apparent. Again, personal choice. If you like the gaps or you don't mind the gaps, that's fine. If you want squares, then you can use squares. And I do have one with square tiles that I will show you in a minute. Excuse me while I make sure that doesn't stick to the canvas. Now, one more caution to give you when it comes to diamond painting. We have discovered through looking through a few of the more popular sites that a lot of the artwork that you'll find in kits for these diamond paintings is not following copyright law, not following American copyright law at least. The artists whose work appears in those kits have not been contacted for their permission. They are not getting royalties off of those kits, so the companies that are printing them are pretty much stealing them. The companies are in China, so they may not even be aware of the fact that they're breaking American copyright law. They have started to be notified now that we have gotten involved, or the cross-stitching community at least has gotten involved, and we recognize the artwork of some of our favorite cross-stitch designers. They are, or artists that are being used for licensed cross-stitch patterns. The companies are being contacted. They are being told that they are in violation of US copyright, and some of those images are coming down, which is a good thing. We like that. But be aware that if you are not sure that you are buying a pattern that is a copyright approved, that is obeying US copyright law, you are most likely buying something that is in violation of US copyright law, and just be aware. I'm not going to tell you not to buy it. My personal preference is not to, now that I'm aware of it, but I can't tell you how to buy, how to shop. I can't tell you what to do or not do. That's your personal choice. Just be aware of the fact that you may be buying something that is in violation. Okay? So, this one's going to be tricky to show you because it's much bigger than my other canvases. But I wanted to show you this one because it's a difference in the way the canvas appears and in the sort of thing you might see if you get into diamond painting. This happens to still be a kit, but this is what you will see probably, most likely, if you buy a custom pattern. I'll talk about that as well. If you buy a custom, however, what you are most likely going to get is a canvas that has this sort of paper on it. Rather than the clear cellophane plastic thing that you've seen on my other canvases, you will see this sort of slick white. It's like peeling the paper that goes on stickers. It's sticker paper. I don't know what you call that, but it's protective paper for the canvas again. But it's solid, it's opaque and white and has this logo on it. You will see on this, you still have the color key. And again, those are, let me see if I can get it a little bit closer so you can read it. Whoa, that's not it. I hate angles, camera angles. Okay, well the numbers are blurred, but these are DMC colors as well on the color key. And the way you work on this particular, oh, let me show you real quick. You see this little square here that I'm not going to be able to show you clearly because it's going to blur the closer it gets to the camera. Yeah, and now I've completely messed it up. Here. This little square, this is actually a tiny, tiny version of what the picture will look like. I will insert a picture of what this looks like as well. I'll do it here. But they do print a tiny little picture to make sure that the canvas matches the kit or the custom that you bought. At any rate, with this particular paper, the way we work on it is you peel off pieces so that you can uncover enough canvas to work, but you don't uncover the whole thing and, like I was saying before, expose the sticky, tacky stuff to dust and dirt and threads or whatever cat footprints that might happen to show up on your work. Some of the paper in this particular style, sometimes they will send you something that already has pieces cut, so you have a section you can just peel off. With this one, I had no section, so I had to tear it myself, so it's a little ragged. I apologize for that. But you've seen the picture of what this is supposed to look like. This is what I have done so far. Now, these are square tiles, and you can get sort of a glimpse as I do this. Turn it side to side. You can get a glimpse of what I was talking about why they call them diamonds and the fact that they shine. So this is another thing to keep in mind. Any pattern that you do with these tiles is going to be sparkly. If you do not want your picture to look sparkly, you don't want to use these tiles. This is not the technique for you. However, if you don't mind the sparkle, if you like sparkle, if you have a particular pattern that you think would look best, if it's sparkled, this is the perfect technique. Now again, get it a little closer so you can see, well, that's blurry, but you can see these are not circles. These are squares. So they fit together completely. The sides butt up against each other. There is no gapping, or there's a little bit because the canvas isn't covered completely. But there's a little less, or rather much less, gapping between the tiles. This makes a more uniform picture. This makes a more detailed picture, probably, because you're not missing the corners on the circle like you would on the circular tiles. These tiles, in my opinion, are much smaller, so they're harder to work with. The grid is much smaller, so it is a little more difficult to read. You're not going to be able to tell, I mean, you can see the grid, but those are 10 by 10 squares, and the symbols are sometimes very similar. They are very tiny. Sometimes the print is a little blurry, so it's difficult to see them. So I think the square tiles are a little more difficult to work with, even if they give you better detail. I mean, you can see, just in this little section, and this, by the way, is 1,000 squares, 1,000 tiles. So, but you can see the color changes, and it's a very nice effect. I think it's a very nice effect. But they're tricky to work with. So, one of the things that I have heard suggested is that you use a magnifying glass or magnified glasses. I do have a pair of those. But what really works, what I have found really works, is using a light pad. This is my light pad. It is an iTing Joy. Can you see the bottom? I got it on Amazon. Was relatively inexpensive, and it lights up by pushing on it. And you can make it as bright as you want it to be. You're not going to see the difference in light because you're just not going to see it. But you did see it turn on. And now it's going to flicker, sorry. Now it's off again. But this is my light pad, and it works pretty well. Basically, you would put a section of your canvas on the light pad. And if I pull this piece of paper up, well, you can't see, never mind, that's a bad example, because you won't be able to tell. So pretend I didn't do that. But the light pad helps a lot. It illuminates the pattern from below, which makes the symbols much easier to read, and it makes it easier to work the pattern. Sorry, pausing the video again for 1 second. So one last thing before I actually do some diamond painting so you can see how it works. There is a group, there are a couple groups on Facebook that talk about diamond painting, and I will link those in the description below. So if you're interested, you can come and check them out and see the kind of things that people are working on, see the kind of things people are talking about, and get involved if you would like to. There is a group specifically for heaven and earth designs, which is something that if you are a cross-stitcher, you may have heard of, you may know about. If you're watching my video, you're probably familiar with them because most of the people that I interact with on my FlossTube are familiar with heaven and earth, but I will link them below as well. They produce very detailed cross-stitch patterns based on artist artwork, and they are all licensed pieces of artwork. There is a group of us who are currently working on making diamond paintings using those cross-stitch patterns. Now, by default, the pattern size on Heaven and Earth Designs is on a 25 count canvas, and the dimensions that they give you on those patterns are for something that has been stitched on a 25 count canvas. The diamond painting canvas that we are able to get is 10 count, which means that the patterns will be much larger than they would be on a 25 count fabric. There are several people who are working on patterns right now. I personally have a custom canvas coming to me, so I will be working on a Heaven and Earth pattern as soon as that gets here. I will show you pictures and progress as that goes forward, so you can see what that looks like. But I will link the Facebook group below as well, so you can see there is one member who has finished a project, and you can see how it looks compared to the pattern itself. Other people are in various stages of progress, and you can see those as well. I think it's pretty cool, and I'm very excited about the fact that we can buy artwork legally that you might find on another site that has been, that is in, as I was saying, violation of copyright. But it's possible to find the exact same piece of art and still, if you enjoy it, if you like it, and we're looking forward to being able to buy a kit and make a painting with it, you can still buy that artwork and make a painting with it, but do it in a way that honors the artist's work and make sure that they get some credit for it and get some compensation for it as well. So, I am going to pause the video again. When I come back, I will pull out that the big square canvas, and I will do some work on that so you can see what it looks like to actually stick tiles to the surface. Okay? I'll be right back. So now we're back, and this is not great lighting, but it'll let you see a little bit of what I'm doing. Hopefully it's not too frustrating. You'll be able to see the shapes go in anyway. And I might just trim this out unless I can change the light a little bit. That's a little bit better. But anyway, I lowered the camera so it's a little closer so you can see a little better what I'm doing, but it makes it blurry, so I apologize for that. I will figure out a way to make this better. Or maybe in the future I'll just do videos of me doing diamond painting. Or hang on, let me change the camera again, and maybe you don't need to see the detail that close. Hang on. Okay, that's a little better. Anyway, again, this pink stuff is glue. This is the pen tool that I was telling you about. Pen tool goes into the pink stuff, and you'll see a circle come out. It is now in the tip of the pen, so I can pick up beads. Let me take the glue out of here. This particular kit happens to have a key that comes with it that tells you the number of the drill, the tile, the number of bags that you have, the number of actual stitches or tiles that are used in the pattern. And you can see, actually, this has a picture of the kit as well. That's a little bigger than on the canvas. I showed you the picture, inserted the picture before, but there it is again. So this key is easier to read than the one that's on the sides of the canvas, because the one on the side of the canvas is kind of tiny. So I'm going to start with my symbol 3, which is number 820. Again, a DMC color. Oh, and that's round. That's the wrong shaped tile. Where is my... Okay. I have two different sets. So I have a set that's round and a set that's square. So this is my container that has the right bead. So I usually, in order to get beads out, I usually wet my finger a little bit so they'll stick on my finger, like this. And then I drop them into the tray where, as you can see, that's not a lot, but I drop them into the tray where they will fall, if I shake them, they will fall right side up, and I can pick them out. I'm going to put that off to the side so I can actually work, because if it's on the canvas, it's in the way for me. You see, I'm going to start on the line, the row closest to what I've already finished, and you press it down as close to centered in the square on the grid as you can get it. And you can see there's a new stitch a new stitch, a new tile that's been put down there. So again, this is sort of like cross-stitching with a tile. It's sort of like doing jigsaw puzzles, maybe, because you're putting pieces where they belong on a pattern. The nice part about the square tiles is that when you get a row filled in, or the more you get a row filled in, you'll notice when I put these down right now, some of them might come off a little crooked, a little wonky, the line might look a little strange, or the row might look a little strange, because the tile doesn't have anything to butt up against it. And sometimes when you put the tiles down in the first place, they shift around a little bit, and they look a little crooked. I mean, if you look down here, you can see that there are a couple of gaps in the tiles that I've already put down. Now, occasionally I go through and I push them all back together. This is a big canvas. This canvas is, it's about 20 inches by 16 inches, I think. Maybe a little bit bigger than that. But there's a lot of space. I've only covered what I showed you. So I haven't covered most of the canvas. So there's room for these tiles to wiggle around a little bit and to make gaps. But the more you put tiles in, the more you can push the gaps closed, and the glue will hold them closed. So, if you decide to do this and you get a square canvas and you think it's a little, it looks a little ratty at first, don't worry about it. You can adjust that. That's one of the other nice things about this craft, is that if you mess up, you can pull the tiles off and fix them. What I do with, oh, it's over here. Now, the more familiar you are with this, I'm sure it will get faster. As I said, I just recently got my first square set, or my first square kit, which is this one. And so I'm still a little slow and a little fiddly about putting tiles in, so apologies that I'm not just breezing through this so you can see how quickly you can get it done. But I do find that the square tiles, as I was saying before, they're a little more fiddly. They take a little more actual effort to put them down. The circular tiles are easier to just stick, well, they have a circular grid too. So they're just a little easier to stick in the middle of their little circles and not have to worry about whether they're lined up with their neighbors or whether they're directly butted up against their neighbors and that kind of thing. But you can see, like I was telling you, you can stick the bead on the end of the pen, and it holds it pretty securely. I mean, if you fling your hand around, the bead is going to come off. It's not super glue. It's not going to hold it there forever, but it does hold it for a while. And like I said, just like cross-stitching, you can go through a section and do all of the tiles, or all of the stitches, if you want to call them stitches, of a particular color within a section, across the whole canvas if you want to do that, and then go back for the next. So I'm just doing a couple of colors here. So again, you can see that you put the squares down. I also find it interesting that when you are picking tiles up, if they are not face up, or not face up, if they are not rounded side up, it's much more difficult to pick them up because the bottom is a little bit concave. So it won't attach to the... Okay, here's an example. You see that that tile I just put down is crooked. It's not lined up. It's supposed to be, make a little L shape, or a upside down L shape with those in this cluster of three here. And I stuck it down incorrectly. It did not want to go there. It's going to move around a little bit. So what you can do is pull it, push it back into place, and I like to press it down into the glue a little bit to try to make it stay where it's supposed to be. And then you can try to adjust these back. So it's not perfect. Those aren't perfectly lined up, but they're definitely more of the L shape I was talking about, right? And then, as I was saying before, the further you get into the pattern, other tiles will fill in around those and will basically force them to be where they're supposed to be and keep them in place. And that one I actually flipped upside down, so I have to start over with that one. It's not particularly fascinating, probably, to watch for a long period of time. I mean, unless you're interested in watching the picture come together. But this is such a big picture that I won't be able to finish a significant portion of it in any sort of timely fashion. So I'm not gonna do a whole lot more here. And if you are watching and you're putting up with the fact that I continue to work on this, then thank you very much for your attention. I do appreciate it. I am going to be live streaming some of my diamond painting sessions because I think that's entertaining, and as I said before, I kind of like enabling and introducing people to things they may not have seen before. So I will be live streaming on something called picarto.tv. I will put a link to my channel in the description below. And if you're interested, you can come over and watch if I happen to be online. You can chat with me while I am working on these things if I happen to be online. Follow me for sure so you'll know when I am online. And, come hang out. We'll make our own little community of people who are interested in diamond painting and live streaming. So there you go. I'm going to stop there because, again, it's not that thrilling to watch somebody do it unless you're interested in the process of how the bricks go together. And I've already made a 40-minute video introducing you to the concept. So I will go ahead and leave you here. I will be back in 2 weeks, just like I am with my FlossTube videos. And I will show you any progress I've made on any of the diamond painting canvases that I have. I will show you new canvases that I've gotten since the last time I talked to you, and we'll just start a whole new series of videos. Sound good? Sound good to me. So thank you for watching. Feel free to like the video. Feel free to comment or ask questions if you have questions. Feel free to subscribe to my channel. Now again, I do FlossTube videos, so those are cross-stitch videos. I do show other crafts there. I may show other crafts here, but this is specifically for diamond painting, so I'm going to try to keep this pretty much only diamond painting. Anyway, feel free to subscribe if you would like to do so, and once again, thank you for spending time with me and for watching the video. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.